Hey folks, Luke here from Conan Fitness, and for the exercise for the month is the lunge. We're going to be reviewing the lunge. It's one of the favourites of mine because a lunge is such a functional motion. It's something you do every day in life. If you're picking up a box or you're bending down or you're walking up steps, it's a very similar muscle activity to a lunge. When you think about it, a lunge is similar muscle activity around the knee joint as a squat, but it is very different around the hip joint from a squat because it's a lot more stretch in the hips. So what we're going to be reviewing today is some reasons why you want to do the lunge and do it right, some faults that are pretty common with the lunge, and some ways that you can get the most out of it so that you can have really nice legs, great bum, and just strong legs. So let's have a review at the lunge.
Okay folks, now one of the major faults that people do when doing the lunge, you often hear they say not to put knees over the toes, similar to what we said when we went through the squat. So if you do a normal lunge, Isla, you notice that in a normal stationary lunge, you'll see Isla's knee is going a little bit over the toes. Not that it has to, but a natural motion probably would. You also notice the back knees falling towards the ground. There is a slight bend in the torso, I should say a slight forward lean. But it's not bending, it's not rounding. That's pretty important. So you can see a nice fluent motion. All of the muscle activity should be mostly around the front leg because most of the weight is in the front foot and not the back foot. There should be almost none in the back foot. It's just there for balance. All the work is around here. You'll also notice that as Isla bends the knee, this muscle here called the VMO, that really kicks in when the knee bends properly, and that helps to stabilize the knee. If I can get you to stop there, do a common lunge, that's where the bum gets pushed back, the knee doesn't bend too much, and the torso comes right forward. That's it. Now this you'll see a lot in most lunge people. You'll see that the back leg is taking most of the load. There's a huge amount of force on that back knee there, and you're really bending forward like most people do. This knee's not doing a lot. It's not bending much. It's barely making 90 degrees. There's a large force in the bum, which is good, but that back knee is taking more of a pounding than the front leg is. Now if we compare that to falling back into the normal lunge, you see the body's a little bit more upright, and this front knee is doing all the work. And that's what we want to see in the lunge. Okay, another one of the major faults, two of the major faults is where the hips and spine position are. If you have a look at this, when we think of a lunge, I want you to think of the same motion as fencing. You know the sport fencing? It's a perfect example of the ultimate lunge. I mean, they're basically lunging right at their opponent, and there is your typical perfect lunge. So two of the major faults, guys, is when we do a lunge, if you see side on, that when the hips give way, or what we call the outer glutes, when they give way and I lunge forward, it looks like this. And you'll see the front shoulder coming forward, you'll see the opposite hip dip. And that's this bum giving way. If it were to hold me straight, my torso is upright, my torso is straight. If it gives way, I have this leaning effect. We don't want that tilting effect. Similarly, if you see the spine straight on, it shouldn't waver. You see a lot of people lose balance like this. They'll do their lunge and you'll see a bit of a sway in the torso laterally. That's indicating a bit of a weakness or imbalance around the pelvis area and the lower spine. So if you can keep the body nice and straight when you're doing your lunge, that's obviously ideal. Here we can see a walking lunge. You can see there's a slightly longer range of motion that the butt's doing because the foot is making contact with the ground for longer. In our standard alternate lunge, you can see the knee motion, getting a nice deep bend in the knee. And this is a reverse lunge, same thing as alternate lunge, but the leg's actually going back instead of forward. And this has a larger range of motion in the butt because the foot's made contact with the floor for a lot longer. This is a fighter lunge which has even more range of motion in the butt because of the added hip flexion motion at the top that you can see there. And this is just a little bit more functional. Lunge with the shoulder press, you can still see the same principles apply. Full knee bend, torso stays upright and straight. And finally, to add a little bit of strength, a little bit of power to it, something that's a little bit more challenging, that's a dynamic lunge, adding the jump or the power motion, that plyometric type motion to the lunge. And that's it folks. Good luck. All the best with your lunge.